whisper that in my ear?
You know what?
I heard organically, and I'm like, shit,
No.
was that in my ear? You sneak
Like
up
I
God,
on
is
said,
me?
that you?
I'd already worked out my commercial for the Mad Viking beard products. I hadn't got it scripted, but in my mind, I see it going something like, "Are you tired of being a stupid little bitch? You know, do you not want to look like a fucking homo?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, if you want a glorious
Yeah,
face mane, motherfucker, you know what I mean? Do this.
you
I don't
know,
know what it's made of, but it shit smells good.
You're
I
preaching
kind
to
of
the
thought
choir right now.
you were
What?
going to put like my face as the before and your face as the after.
Or the really obvious ones where they change race too.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Do you not want a tramp stamp?
I told you, you know, that I made this joke that I was gonna come out as the first female super heavyweight mixed martial artist, and I wasn't gonna shave my beard or anything. I was just gonna go get a sports bra and like stand there in a fucking sports bra, you know, 295
No,
fucking
no, no.
pound.
John, you can't fit in any sports bra. You're just gonna have to cut off a wife beater to fucking make
You
that
know
look
what?
work.
When it runs through your
Like
head,
he
it
doesn't
probably
have that in
sounds
his
funny.
closet already.
In your head, it probably sounds funny, but when you say it out loud, it hurts. That's all I'm gonna say. You know? But anyway, so me standing there in a sports bra, right? Beard, whole 9 yards, all fucking tatted up, right? And I'm like, yeah, bitches, I'm coming for you. You know what I mean? Like I'm the first female woman of color to compete in the super heavyweight division of mixed martial arts.
And don't forget, you can say bitches because that's your word, right?
Right, it's our word now. I'm a female.
That's how you identify.
But anyway, because of that,
It needs to take something like that to end this lunacy.
yeah, because of that joke, I started you know how the iPhone you can make your avatar.
Yeah.
So my avatar is a black dude with a beard and everything, just like mine. So every time my wife says something, I'll put up this black dude with holding up a heart or something, you know. And she's like, "Why in the hell are you putting up a black dude?" And I'm like, "Because I'm transracial. Like I've always thought I was black. I better be careful.
Just not
Dale's gonna
not
want to
below
date
the waist.
Yeah, I was gonna say, look, motherfucker, just because you eat grits and in the South doesn't make you black.
Dale's gonna want to date me. I keep going.
I
Hey
like
man,
Hobbs.
I love that chocolate.
Oh, that's funny shit right there.
Pretty sure his wife's going to try to kill one of us.
She doesn't even watch
Got it.
because she's afraid of some of the shit that she's gonna hear and just be like, I can't unhear this.
Yeah, here's
I'm not going to lie, this smells like shit.
Okay.
Oh, you can't see it.
Yeah,
Oh, there it
it's blending out, dude. Like, what the fuck are you even holding up? You got to get rid of the.
I thought you were just holding up your finger, and I was like, "Well, get your finger
Remember
out
that
of there."
commercial with the
I
frying
know, right?
pan?
Get your finger out of your ass. What the fuck are you doing,
Pull your
animal?
finger out of your ass. It won't smell
Remember
like
that commercial
shit.
with the frying pan? This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs.
Technology. It's a motherfucker.
Animal keeps saying, I don't know how I keep getting pink eye.
I'm over here saying I'm a high functioning sociopath. Animals over here like, that's nothing. I'm high functioning autistic.
Slinging poo at the fucking wall.
He's having a monkey shit fight at the zoo.
Speaking of animals in consideration, so what the fuck was delaying you so much? Did you have to like totally rebuild the house that they were renting?
No, it's fucking. So I invest in real estate, right? And I own 5 houses, 6 houses. Fuck, I don't remember. And I had a renter there. She's been in there or she was in there for like 6 years. And then during COVID and stuff like that, I wasn't an asshole, I took it easy.
Bro.
So she was only paying like $900 a month, right? Which the area that she rents in, they rent for like 1,800 to 2,000 a month.
Mm.
But during the whole COVID pandemic and all the blah, 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 I'm not working and everything else, I was like, okay, we'll meet in the middle here. We'll figure things out. So that went on. Well, finally, I was like, okay, enough's enough. We're raising the rent back to 1,000. We raised it to 1,000, and then the whole tax thing across the nation, it seems like, where they're just drastically raising taxes on property has gotten out of control.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody is under this misconception that whenever you own property, it's like, oh, that guy's got a lot of money. Well, when you own properties, if done right and done smart, you have asset wealth, right? There's assets and then there's cash, right? So you're asset wealthy, kind of cash poor. With the raising of all these taxes, the way that they've been done, as much as the taxes have been raising, you can't turn around and just raise rent on somebody like that. They've signed lease agreements and everything else.
Right.
Long story short, in December her lease came up, so I raised her rent again. Well, I raised it to 1,200, still not reaching the market value of what's in the area, right?
Sure.
So she tried to throw it. Well, I can't afford that. I'm gonna have to move out. Okay, move out. Bye. That was my response.
Right.
Because I knew the interest rates, because she was like, well, I found another house and this, that, and the other. I'm going to move out. And I said, okay, move out. Interest rates are upwards of 7%. Like, you're not, good luck,
Right. Right.
So okay, I'll sign another year. So she signed another year. Well, last week, I don't remember what day it was. I think it was Monday or something. If I remember correctly, last Monday, my wife gets a text, and out of nowhere, it's this sad sob boohoo story of I lost my job, blah blah blah, I can't afford it, so on and so forth, right? So she had up and moved out, is what it is. All right, so now I have different options I can go through. Do I go after? Do I place a lien on her? Do I take her to court? So on and so forth, or do I just say, okay, now I'm going to rent it to somebody at market value, and we'll call it a day, right?
Right.
So I go over there because work and everything else. I didn't get over there until later in the week. And we get over there and look at everything. Man, I have, what bifold doors are?
Yeah.
Her heathen kid, I don't know if it was her kids or who it was, but the bifold doors have been torn out of the brackets. Not torn off. The tracks that they roll in have been built or been bent. I'm sorry. So the doors won't roll. So I had to replace all those. There's holes in the wall. I guess at the washer and dryer hookup, somebody had tore into the sheetrock. The connections are leaking water. All the glass on the ceiling fans, the covers, the light fixture covers on the ceiling fans, those are all broke. So all the blinds, I had the 2-inch faux wood blinds throughout all the windows. Those have been bent, warped, and broken. Apparently there was a dog in the house, from what the neighbor said. They'd just gotten a dog in like January or December. So that's what I've been dealing with since whatever day it was, Thursday or Friday, whenever I started going over there and rebuilding everything, man. So I've pulled out all the old blinds, put up new blinds. I've put in all new ceiling fans, 4 brand new ceiling fans. I still have to cut the pipe to replace the washer and dryer fixture. We got to get the carpet clean. Oh, I got to put tracks. Your kitchen cabinet drawers.
Yeah.
Somehow all the tracks are bent, so none of the drawers go in. So I've had to pull out all the drawers of the cabinets, and I got to replace all the tracks. So that's what I've been over there doing all the time. I just didn't go over there today because we had a thunder and lightning storm, and it actually was knocking out the power earlier and everything else. So I was like, all right, well, I'll see if I'll go hang out with these clowns tonight.
That's a really long, drawn out, boring ass fucking story, bro.
I hate you. I hate your beard. You're gay. Fuck you. And your estrogen
Here's
levels.
an idea. When you're gonna tell a story, have a fucking point. It makes it a lot easier on the rest of us.
Point and moral of the story is don't be fucking nice to people. That's point and moral of the story.
Yeah, we all know that shit for sure, don't we?
Well, what's funny is
you
I
know.
hear that same story every day because Iris manages 600 properties.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Man, I didn't want to do that shit. I had a couple of opportunities to get into doing real estate and stuff, and I've got friends that do it. And man, fuck, I just ain't built for. I ain't really built for like customer service. You know what I mean? Like
It's not, man.
public interaction, that kind of shit gives me a little trouble. You know?
So I grew like I didn't grow up in any of it. You know, I grew up poor and whatever, but you know, I read a lot of books, and the number one way for new millionaires and wealth to be generated and change generation, you know, family generations is through real estate. So when I came home and stayed home, I'd saved the majority of the money that I'd made around the world, and I went and bought properties, and I paid cash for them. And then I paid cash to go in and completely rebuild these properties. So I've been blessed. I'm not going to argue with it. I haven't had a lot of headaches. It's at the end of the day, people want to bitch, crap, and complain. You know, I can't do that. I can't do this. But I mean, really, I do what the fuck I want to. I own the property.
Yeah, that's not
You
the
know?
part I'm talking about. I'm talking about I just don't have the patience to deal with fucking people.
Yeah.
I don't have.
You know,
I mean,
for that. I don't have the patience. That same goddamn story you just told, man, I would have lost my shit like a shit collector with amnesia. You know what I mean? Like I'm just
yeah,
not built
and
for that kind of tedious, fucking aggravating bullshit.
well, and that's well, after this is done, this is where I hire somebody like Booger's girlfriend,
yeah.
Iris, to come in. I pay her 10% of what I charge monthly,
Oh,
and
shit.
she goes in and she deals with this shit, and I don't deal with a fucking thing. I wake up and collect a paycheck.
Yeah, because I mean, she's got, you know, an entire maintenance crew that works
Exactly.
for her, you know, all of that stuff, you know. I mean, it's more of a headache than I'd want to deal with. One, I'm just not organized for that kind of shit, you know. I would lose details. I wouldn't be able to keep track of who's owing me rent and what's going on. Yeah, no.
I just don't want to
Far
do
bigger
that
brain
much
than mine can
tedious.
do it.
I just don't want to be that
Oh,
involved
it
in
is
tedious
too.
bullshit.
Yeah,
You know,
and for the
Well, and she's in court like 3 days a week. You know, her or one of the girls that works for her, you know, 3 days a week they're in court for evictions, late payments, you know, so whatever it is. So, I mean, there's that aspect that gets thrown in that's just eating up your day left and right.
yeah, but she's
And see, I
also
guess like
dealing with
this is the best way.
600 properties. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Um,
100%. And you know, unfortunately, the income level and whatnot plays a big part in it. She has a lot more issues with her Section 8 housing than, you know, her, you know, $3,000 a month, you know, beachfront properties. You know, those ones, that's
mhm.
no issue. Typically, you've got a
Did you have
long-term
something to do
tenant in
with Section
there.
8 deal?
Yeah, I was just say a booger. We need to invest in getting you a merkin, you know, for your face, because I'm having a hard time hearing this voice come out of that face.
I
I
can't believe
know.
you
Yeah,
messed up shape.
The
I
name
did, man.
Chester Molester comes to mind when I look at him
Well, at
now.
least I didn't keep the money. It
Definitely should have
grows
kept
back
the porn
quick.
stash. Definitely should have
I
kept
was
the porn
so,
stash.
you know what though? Old me would have gotten so pissed off, but I was just kind of bummed. It's really, it was almost like when your parents were like, "I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed." That was me with myself. I was like, "I'm not really mad,
It's
I'm
like,
Yeah,
just
it's almost
disappointed."
like when your son comes out and
shit.
tells you he's gay. It's like, okay, do I disown him or do I make fun of him?
No, you
Yeah,
just don't.
well, well, and I'm sitting there and I was like, I could shave it into a goatee, and so I did for a second. And I was like, now I just look like an old wizard. This isn't gonna work. So I was like, yeah, time to
You
start
should have
over.
done like the old Chinese wizard Fu Manchu.
I
Yeah,
did that
put a
one time, the
braid
last
it
time that
out.
I'd grown it out long. And when I shaved it, that was what I did. Nobody liked that. They said I looked like a billy goat.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna have to try some of this Viking beard product because the first time I tried growing facial hair with Blackwater, I straight up had somebody say, "You look like you have mange," and I fucking immediately went to the bathroom and shaved all that shit right off. I was like, "Nope, not gonna do
I'm
that."
picturing Joe Dirt with don't you mean it just
Damn
grows in
near
all
I
patchy
just,
like that?
Joe Dirte.
it's kind of funny
Trying to
because
shoot it up
I'm
soon.
not the kind of person that's going to make fun of anyone.
Oh,
I'm,
never.
I'm above that.
Since when did
I'm
we start
above that
telling
guttural
lies?
humor.
I'm getting
You know?
back from my
When did we
iPad for
start
fear of lightning
lying?
strike.
I
There's
got my
going to be
boots
4
on.
lightning strikes,
It's a good thing we're all in separate states.
right?
Oh shit.
And somehow,
There's no point
still,
even trying to bare my soul with you fucking animals.
Oh yeah.
Bad
Don't
animals.
try and gaslight us.
go ahead, Looney, say your piece.
Actually, that was all I was going to say. I don't remember what the rest
Oh
of it.
well, okay.
No, but
I'm wondering if he's growing sideburns on his dick now, like a 1970s porn star with his beard oil.
I know
You
he's
know
gonna braid them
what's
right off his balls.
If you want him to send you a
He's
dick
like
pic,
sitting
just
there,
ask.
like,
you know what's funny
Looney,
though
what are
is
you doing? I'm oiling my pecker.
like there's absolutely nothing. People all the time say something. There's nothing in my beard. I have nothing in my beard right now. This is literally how it hangs. This is natural.
That's the way mine was. It just grows straight.
Yeah,
Like
it
it
just
doesn't have
grows
any
out straight. You know what I mean? And
I mean,
it's thick and
I'll
it's
get little
luscious,
curls just because of the way I
and
sleep,
it's
but
soft like the ass of a bunny rabbit. It's glorious and thick and luscious and shiny.
I'm gonna have to grow mine back so we can have a beard off because
Oh, did you
I
say
just
what? Beard. Oh,
a weird off, beard
beard
off,
off, beard off.
beat
Doesn't
off.
stop
I don't
either of
know.
you
It's
from treating it like a
2023,
bearded
dude.
clam. You'll probably still suck on the lips.
Guys, so
Oh, yeah, turn your head sideways again. That was a pretty
I
view.
listened to this cat talking. I listened to this cat talking the other day, and he was talking about the the whole climate shit, and he was saying that we are never going to get away from fossil fuels. I don't know who the dude was. Don't ask me. I just saw a video and was listening to him. He said something like 87% of the energy in the world comes from fossil fuels.
I think just
97% of all transportation is fossil fuels.
look at just all of the plastic.
He said that
That right there.
he said that in the last 2 decades, we have decreased our reliance on fossil fuels by 2% and spent over $5 trillion. The only thing we've done is just barely move the fucking needle.
Yeah.
These are hard facts. I'm not making this up.
Well, when
But
I
what
was
he
in,
said was
oh, sorry.
really interesting to me was in order to manufacture the cobalt, the fucking nickel, all that shit that goes into electric car batteries and all the material, in order to mine that, we would have to increase our current mining operations worldwide, planet-wide, by 1,000%. And he quoted studies that had been done on the subject. Can you imagine the
Well,
fucking
and then what do they do with those
devastation from
batteries when they go bad?
1,000% increase of fucking mining
Hey,
operations?
you there?
Did we loot? Oh yeah, we got you, animal. Although you look
All right.
like a horror show.
1,000% increase in mining operations just to get the material to build everybody an electric car.
Well, and
Well,
they don't have
and
any capability to
Explain to me
recycle
how
those
that carbon
batteries
footprint
either.
makes any sense.
it's not even the carbon footprint. I mean, when you take a look at the return of
Hey, can you
energy
hear me?
on what you've got to put into it.
Yeah,
Yep.
we can hear you. Can't see you.
Yeah, you froze up.
All right, you there?
There you go. There you go, animal. Stop wandering away from the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But
Anyway.
yeah, the thing is, like, how long does it take, even if you have a 440 outlet for your electric car, how long does it take to charge that? And then how far are you going to get to go before you hopefully find another 440 outlet? You know, whereas 5 minutes at the pump, I've got 500 miles to go on my truck.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah,
that's one of the things too is would not only just deplete like the amount of space that it takes to mine those things and how much it destroys that ecosystem in the area.
well, the
We
And
also
child
radiation.
don't,
slavery.
yeah, and then we don't have the infrastructure for it. Like you said, it's
No.
not an easy go to the pump, get $5 in gas, or spend 5 minutes there pumping gas. $5 is only a gallon nowadays, but
Well,
yeah, I mean we're
I
nowhere
read
near
a I read an
ready for
article.
that. And go ahead.
I read an article that said that I don't remember the exact numbers, so don't quote me on the exact numbers, but I'll just throw out numbers. But I read an article that said something like there's something like 10 terawatts of power available in this country. Like that's it. That's all we've got. We can't produce, we can't, transmit, we can't 10 terawatts. That's the limit. We don't have the capability to go above that.
Because of our
Now,
infrastructure.
Yeah, we don't have
to
the
keep it
infrastructure. We don't have anything.
to put that in perspective, what exactly would a terawatt be
It'd be
equivalent of?
what is that? 1,000,000 watts? I don't know. I'm not 100% sure.
What would that power?
Uh,
Like, just like
that's
ballpark,
well, let me finish. So we've got like 10 terawatts available.
Okay.
Our country uses like 7.
Okay.
So we have a surplus gap of, let's just say, about 30%. But if everybody in the country that's legal would replace their car with an electric vehicle, we would need something like 24 terawatts of power. Just
So you're talking about
all the fucking
infrastructure.
cars. Yes. So
Okay.
we don't have the infrastructure in place. We don't have the power plants. We don't have the
No.
transmission lines. We don't have anything in place. We could
No.
not support everybody
No.
having an electric vehicle.
Look at
If you
California in
look
the
at-
summertime.
If you look, Al Gore just did a thing the other day. I don't know if you guys saw this. Y'all can Google it, fucking YouTube it. I don't give a shit. Somebody out there is a big enough cunt to call me out, but fucking Al Gore came out and said that all the shit he predicted with Inconvenient Truth. Remember the Inconvenient Truth? All that shit he predicted. He said that he thought everybody knew it was fake. He was making a joke.
So
He's totally
meanwhile, it
180
impacted
degrees.
taxes.
So to put it into perspective, if I remember in chemistry, whenever they were talking about joules and everything like that, a terawatt, 1 terawatt, I guess you call it 1 terawatt hour, is a unit of energy. That 1 terawatt is equivalent to what's called 1 trillion watts. So, like when we look at 60 watts or 80 watts or 40 watts, 1 terawatt is 1 trillion watts.
Yeah, and that was something I said, the other day in that text I sent y'all. Take the number 10 trillion.
Yeah.
Most people can't imagine a number 10 trillion. What does that mean? You hear it thrown around all the time, 5 trillion, 10 trillion. But I forget the number I told y'all, but I did the math on it. I was like, I wonder what that'd be. $10 million per day.
Mm-hmm.
If you spent $10 million every day, it would take you, what did I say, 2,793 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a crazy amount of time.
$10 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is just fucking nuts.
So I guess, and I'm just like, I'm trying to remember my chemistry in my head, but if I remember correctly,
Yeah, this ain't Breaking Bad. Save that shit for later.
raw. That's on another episode.
Never get high on your own supply.
Yeah,
We've got some
one
fertilizer.
terawatt. Yeah, 1 terawatt would power. It's like 150 or 200,000 homes, something like that. 150,000 to 200,000 homes. That's what 1 terawatt would power. Yeah, there's no way that with the homes, the cities, everything that we have relying on the electrical grid, it can't happen.
Yeah, and like I
Not
said,
to mention,
those numbers are arbitrary. I don't remember what the actual number was,
Yeah,
but I know it was
yeah.
a significant jump. The point was that we don't have the infrastructure in place.
Absolutely not. You're correct, dude. And what people talk about, like you were talking about the EVs, the electric vehicles or whatever. Did you know that each one of those batteries, just one battery for an electric vehicle, is 1,000 pounds?
Sounds about right.
Yeah,
Just one is 1,000 pounds.
we lost your video, Adam.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can hear
We
you.
just
Can't see
we
you.
just got no video.
Video's off.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties, crowd.
He's trying to fucking surf that gay clown porn shit.
Don't judge me. Don't judge me.
There he is. I told you.
Dan-
XXXXX.
Damn
Who had my
furries.
phone? It's like, who had my phone?
What's up with that Chilean flag behind you?
You're fucking
I
dead
thought it was
to me.
Puerto Rico.
You're dead to me. You're disowned. I hate all of you.
I hate you all.
Yeah.
Our
I
nation,
hope you
remember
all
the
stick
Alamo.
fucking Lego.
You
Careful.
fucking all of you disgust me.
We just take a sip of my haterade over here.
I hope it shoots out your nose.
Oh shit.
A beard off. Jesus.
With talking on the fossil fuels, though, I mean, people will sit there and get on their phone and bitch about fossil fuels, not realizing that they're holding it in their own hand. You know,
Yeah.
When I was in Sudan, South Sudan, the major contention that with the border was all for the control of the oil from the 1953, line that they had demarked there, and none of that oil was going towards refining cars or anything like that, because it was shit oil. It was all going towards producing plastics, and wars were fought over it. Like, it ain't going away anytime soon.
No.
No.
And here's the thing, even if all these fucking morons are right, even if and I don't think they are, by the way, I'm not saying there's not climate change, because it's cyclical. But
Well, yeah, that's natural.
Getting ready to go
no
into a cold
verifiable
thing.
proof that I'm currently aware of to prove that human beings had that impact on that.
Right.
You can regionally,
and I
if
stand
you look
by
at
that, but-
urbanization and knocking down the trees and concreting everything, it can impact it regionally, but that's going to be offset somewhere else. It's just like if I piss it.
But at the end of the day, though,
Well,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, look, this is all carefully orchestrated for control. That's all it boils down to. It's about making sure that the elite remain elite indefinitely by limiting choice, by limiting freedom, by limiting resources and the capability to self-provide. When you talk about energy, you talk about global travel, all this stuff, all these elites want to limit that, because once people across the globe understand the concept of freedom, which is the highest level of responsibility, but the greatest amount of exercise and personal choice, then what they're going to see is that they can't control the individual as easily. But if they can, kind of corner you into saying, like, okay, this is the kind of energy you can use, this is the kind of place you can live in, you will have nothing and be happy, all that kind of bullshit. It all boils down to control. Because the truth of the matter is, even these numbnuts realize that there's no way they can produce enough of this quote unquote renewable energy bullshit to sustain actual civilization building. Because, I mean, Alex Epstein already, illustrated that developing nations need fossil fuels in order to run a hospital, in order to, have simple infrastructure to thrive. You're going to need to use fossil fuels, because they're not going to come off the jump with nuclear, and that's been given a bad name, all because the military industrial complex wants to control that aspect. Because I'm sorry, I don't see nuclear submarines and nuclear aircraft carriers just exploding every now and then. That doesn't happen. So it's obviously even safer transportation means on a certain level. So at the end of the day, you just boil this down to these motherfuckers want to corral us and make us eat bugs and all this kind of other kind of bullshit. So Yeah, Al Gore, yeah, he was taking the piss, and he made a fuck ton of money off of the backs of people who are idiots. And yes, all you fucking people out there who happen to watch this, who wandered into the wrong fucking chat, guess what? You're fucking morons. That's all I gotta say.
I'm gonna back up what you said, Bill. And I don't mean to cut anybody off,
But I'm going to.
but I'm going to anyway.
With all due respect.
You motherfucker.
So I think everybody knows who the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and the families are, right? That they
Sure.
say control the wealth, right? So John D. Rockefeller is considered to be he revamped what is now known as modern education, so to speak. And when they asked him about it, the John D. Rockefeller quote said, one of the things he said was, "I want to teach them everything about absolutely nothing. That I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers." Right? So people talk about slavery and people talk about the white and the black and this, that, and the other versus everything across the board. Slavery never ended, man. The only thing about slavery that ever ended was the fact that I'm not going to beat you with a whip anymore to make you work in my fields. Instead, I'll placate to the mass. I'll give you a menial margin of a wage of what I think you're worth. And in turn, you're still going to continue doing exactly what the fuck I tell you to do, or I'll just fire you and you won't be able to feed your family.
Right.
So, that's one of the things that I try to teach my sons is that, yeah, you need an education, you need to go to school, you need something that's going to teach you how to make money in some way, shape, form, or the other. But do not expect to get rich by working a job for somebody else, because all you're doing is you're making somebody else wealthy. Which goes back to my original statement about real estate and why I bought properties to begin with, is because essentially I got tired of making somebody else wealthy.
Yep.
Well, I've always said that the idea that our taxes fund the government is an antiquated notion.
Mm.
Yeah.
Our taxes, in my estimation, go for the sole purpose of the redistribution of wealth. They take money from me and give it to someone else. So then people say, well, how does the government get funded? So I always say, what does the government do? What's the number one thing that the government does that makes money? They lend money.
Yeah.
They lend money. What's the only debt in our world or in our nation that you cannot default on?
The national debt.
Student loans. You
Oh,
can file
yeah.
Chapter 13 and discharge any other debt in the world. Right after they passed that law that made student loans ineligible for bankruptcy discharge, that's when tuition started skyrocketing. That's when they started telling everybody that in order to be successful in our nation, you had to go to college. They convinced everybody that you had to go to college. Mike Rowe's been fighting this battle for generation now.
Yeah.
Telling people how much money you can make in the trades. I got guys out here running shovels making $2,000 a week.
Right.
Running a shovel.
When my son, it was
You're gonna make me lose my train of thought.
What's that?
See, you're gonna make me lose my train of thought.
Oh, no, go ahead then. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought you finished up.
No, and down south we do this thing. It's called a dramatic pause. For effect. I leave just enough room for you to go, is he done? And then I slide back in.
I'm just
got a little
picturing
extra
Borat
asshole
not
today
jokes.
because he's past his bedtime, so
Like a
we got to
ninja.
tolerate.
Like a ninja.
And that's why we
like a
call
Beverly
it
Hills Ninja.
Fucking Farley. But no, so my point is like every bit of student loan debt in the nation is owned by the federal government.
Mm.
It's all backed by the government. It's all given out by the government. So the government they helped drive the fucking price of college up. You used to get out of a 4-year college for 40 grand. Now it's 40 grand a fucking year.
Mm-hmm.
See, I
If not a
thought
semester.
that was backed by the Fed.
It is, but still, it's a
Well,
government.
the Fed,
Makes
you know,
money.
the Fed's not government, right?
Well, they make money, but what I'm getting, so same with the housing project or not project, but the housing market. They convinced everybody that in order to be a human being and be successful and to be thought of as successful, you had to have a house, a wife, and 2.5 kids and car in the driveway. You know what I mean? And so they convinced everybody that you had to buy property, you had to buy a house. So you go out and you buy a house, you get a mortgage, you and your family live in it. 10 years down the road, you want to upgrade, you go buy another house. Well, the money that's backed by, Fannie Mae and all that crap, they're not, that's why the mortgages are front loaded. Like when you pay your mortgage payment, when you first start out, the vast majority of that mortgage payment is pure
interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, pure interest.
You don't actually pay your debt to the other side. They get their money up front. And then you turn around and sell that house and someone else buys it and they borrow the same amount of money. And then the government gets that interest up front, and then someone else buys that house and the government gets that interest up front. So you think you own a piece of property, but until you pay it off, you don't. You know what I mean? Like you're just giving the government more money.
I'll do you one better.
How many times
But even
does
when
that
you
happen?
own it, you don't necessarily, you don't get to do what you want. I got evicted off
but
of
now we're
property
talking
that we
freedom. But I'm
own.
just saying, like they created a product between the education of all these kids. They created this product, and then they convinced everybody that you had to buy a piece of property in order to, you know what I mean? So we got this American dream that just keeps fueling the damn. Keeps
Well,
fueling.
and I did that. We had the property. My second wife, she had 16 acres, had the deed free in hand. So we were living in the travel camper on the piece of property, so we could save up money and build a house on it. And
those are generally known as trailer parks.
No, well, yeah. So the city evicted us off of that property because it was not zoned for camping, and we didn't move the camper around every 2 weeks.
What?
So got evicted off of property we owned free and clear. Oh, and then while they were out there, wrote me a ticket for not having a permit on a temporary fence I put in with T-posts, and I put a solar hot box on for the horses. Since it had power on it, even though it was solar, I had to go down and pay a $35 permit fee for that. So I'm sitting there and looking at the plot of land. I said, do I have to put where the fence is or where it's going to potentially be? Because I said, this is a temporary fence so that I can move the horses around to graze. And they said, oh, you can just put down wherever it's going to be. So I grid squared that whole motherfucker on the thing, and just little 100-yard by 100-yard plots all over the entire thing, so I could put that thing wherever I wanted. Yeah, $35 for that, and then got evicted off of our property because it wasn't zoned for camping.
Where was this at?
Virginia.
Let me do you one better. I found this out when I was doing the Bundy Ranch standoff thing in the state of Nevada. The state of Nevada, 87% of Nevada is owned by the federal government. Number one. Number two, if you have property here in Nevada, any of the natural resources on your property are not yours. They belong to the state. So like if there was a silver vein or fucking plutonium or whatever underneath my very feet, it's owned by the state. So if I decided to do some investigation, digging or whatever, and find out, oh shit, I got a fuck ton of reason. No, I don't have anything. The state of Nevada does.
That's a big deal in Texas, is owning mineral rights.
So basically,
tell them about mineral rights.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is, when we ever buy our land and build our housing community, it's going to be in Texas.
Yeah.
It's definitely not going to be Nevada.
But you still have to own those mineral rights, though, because there was plenty of
you can buy them both ways out in Texas.
In Texas, you can buy it both ways. Yeah.
You can buy
there was a neighbor of
ways.
mine in Texas that owned their property but didn't own the mineral rights, and they wanted to put a derrick in, and they said no, and so they rented property next door and drilled in sideways and started
Yeah,
taking
they
their
drill
oil.
sideways. Yep.
Yeah, and these people got had probably $2,500 a month the whole time that Derek was on their property, and they didn't want it, and they just went to the side and took it.
Yeah, it's horizontal drilling. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
We
that's
do
a
that
like I
all the
said, that's a
time
big
out
deal
here.
there in Texas.
We do horizontal drilling all the time out here. The longest one I've done so far was like 9,500 and some change feet.
Yeah.
Feet.
Yeah, that's so. There's a lot. There's a lot of that goes on here. West Texas is huge in obviously gas and oil. And when it comes to the mineral rights, they'll do that a lot because a lot of times when people sell the land or whatever the case may be, you own the land, but you don't own the mineral rights. So when it comes down to it, you could tell somebody, no, get the fuck off my land. You're not drilling shit. So all they'll do is they'll come in and they'll horizontally drill and they'll still take the minerals out of the land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heard of that shit a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Shit.
going back, talking about the Federal Reserve. So that's what a lot of people don't understand is because it has the name federal in it, everybody thinks it's the federal. The Federal Reserve is actually, if I remember correctly, it's like a conglomerate of banks. It was basically an act of Congress that's both federal and private.
It's a central bank.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it falls under the Rothschilds.
Yeah, and it's basically they have members that are part of this board, and they say what happens and doesn't happen.
Right.
But at the end of the day, when it goes back to the private entities that are set up under these banks that make up this reserve, if you will, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. They think it always comes back to, oh, it's the government this, it's the government that. No, they're a bunch of fucking puppets, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You know,
in the
the
food
thing,
pyramid, the government's way down here, just above us. It goes way higher.
the thing that gets me is that, you know, all these people are standing out there. Every time I see something like Congress, Matt Gaetz and those motherfuckers sitting up there beating their chest and screaming like they're doing something. Every time I see it on the left, every time I see it on the right, I think, you bunch of fucking clowns. Like, the only thing they're doing is playing a fucking part. I don't think any of them are out for us.
No, they're
No,
justifying their
There is
existence.
no right and there is
Oh.
no left. They give you two fucking choices. Two choices. Because
Well,
they're
and
polar
then
opposites, and they know that most of the country is going to have to lean one way or the other. 99% of us are right in the fucking middle. The vast
we're
majority of the country is right in the fucking middle. You know what I'm saying? Like, most of us think alike. You may want some more liberal shit than I do. I may want some more conservative shit than you do. But we can agree, most of us, if you put us in a fucking room, the majority of the country would be able to come to a common sense, rational discussion over something. You know what I'm saying? I think.
Yeah.
But what's
You know,
always glamorized is these goddamn prima donna fuckers standing up there beating their chest, acting like they're doing something. When the camera goes off, I guarantee you they're buying each other fucking beers and patting them on the back for the performance they just did. It's all a
oh
fucking
yeah,
show, man. It's all a fucking show. And these stupid
there's
motherfuckers on TikTok and YouTube, right, left, Democrats, Republicans, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, man, it's all the fucking same, bro. Don't you get it? Like, it's
you'll
us
find that
against them,
more of the naive believers that get into politics stay that way. Well, I should say I shouldn't say naive, but you know, people when they initially get into it, they think they're going to change something, and then what they don't realize is that the only way you're going to change anything is to be a part of a committee. And the big committees, well, you got to get placed on that by whoever's at the head, right? Like right now, you got Kevin McCarthy, and you know, it's like you said. I mean, there's so many of these guys. They all pat themselves on the back, you know, and they all believe the same thing that Nancy Pelosi said when they were talking about Congress taking a pay cut. And they're like, and she said, "Oh, that wouldn't be, right for the decorum of the office." And it's like, are you fucking kidding? The original people that were filling those very seats had to go back to their farms to make money, not off of Congress or the
Exactly.
government. But we've lost our way. I mean, this
Well,
is why
100% agree.
I advocate so much for a convention of the states, because we need to put in rules to these fucking people in DC that they understand you work for us, motherfucker, not the other way around.
I think we need to drag. Well, I'm not gonna say that.
I was gonna say that will get
Yeah,
us like
yeah.
woo, shut down.
I think that there needs to be a.
But
I'll put it this way: if I had a hog farm and my hogs started acting a certain way, we'd be eating bacon real quick.
yeah,
And I
I
guarantee
think
the next hog would look at that plate of bacon and he'd toe the fucking line.
I think it should go back to the old Spartan society, and I guess essentially just like you just said, Dale, just like back to our forefathers, the ones that when they were done, they went back to work in their farms.
yeah,
Um, you get chosen. You have 2 years that you're going to go serve, and at the end of the 2 years, you're going to go back right back into society, right back where I pulled you out of.
yep.
So
Definitely think there needs to be some term limits.
any of
Well,
the
and if you
corrupt
look at
bullshit that you try to pull when you're up there, you are now going to be subject to once you're thrown back into society amongst the regular people again.
well, and the majority of
And
politicians before were, it was a duty, and if you look at like
Get
pre
back to the Wi-Fi.
1950. Oh,
You wandered far away from the Wi-Fi.
You fucking clowns.
can you get me now?
See, Dale, this is
Yeah.
why we can't have nice shit.
We're not going to get to build our compound.
How about
we're
it-
going to
so
be
like pre
chasing Booger
1950?
off in the back nine.
Yeah, no shit.
Hopefully. No, but like pre 1950, politicians, their job in the civilian world before they became politicians, they were business owners. After that, if you look at them, they're all lawyers.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
I mean, the
think
whole
that speaks
system
volumes.
fucking shot, man. The whole system shot. But here's the thing. I don't think, I mean, there's always ideas. There's always ways to change things. There's always ways to modify things. But to me, it's kind of like the old idea. Oh, well, this thing is unhackable. No, it ain't.
Nothing is.
It ain't unhackable. It ain't unsinkable. It ain't unfixable. You know what I mean? Like there's a way to get at anything with enough time, patience, and the proper application of force. But what I'm getting at is like no matter what system you adopt, some motherfucker's gonna find a way to hack it. That's the inherent nature of man, to cheat, to
Mm.
win, to get there the first. And so
You know,
I just don't know that we could do. I mean, I know we could do better, but I don't know that we would ever find that. I don't want to say that utopian, dystopian. You know what I mean? Like, but I just don't think. I think eventually man's going to fuck it up. Ralph Waldo
well,
Emerson said one time on, I think it was at Southwestern University. This is a long time ago, but I think Ralph Waldo Emerson, if I'm not mistaken, said that he said the spirit of God was dead because it had been allowed to exist in man.
Mhm.
That man had corrupted what was originally supposed to be something pure.
Yep.
And to me, that's the inherent nature of man. No matter what we do, if enough of us get together in a single spot on a long enough timeline, somebody's going to do some stupid shit. They're going to
They've actually
crook and steal.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like there's no way.
they've
To
actually done
I-
studies on that.
I've always like I've got two takes on that. So what you're talking about, Looney, is the element of people that fall into predator category. Like I say, everybody talks about sheepdogs. They talk about predators, and they talk about sheeps, right? Well, so 90% of the people out there
We
are all
talking about
sheep.
the aliens with the lasers, or we talking about the guys Booger hangs out with?
Both. Also, yes.
Weren't they one and the same?
But
Predator.
so I've always said roughly 90% of the most people are sheep, and that's not meant to be derogatory or divisive or anything. It's just saying that most people are concerned about getting their food for their family and going home and living their life, and that's it. Then the last 10% are divided between basically the good and evil elements of trying to manage order. So you got the protectors and you got the predators. And there's an element of politicians that are predators. They're going to exploit the system. They're going to do for themselves. They're preying upon others' good nature and belief in them. And then you got the protectors out there. They're like, we're in between you and what you're after. So you got to get through us. And with that said, the nature of man that you're talking about, John, is very much like the same thing I tell people. Why do you put a lock on a locker? It's to keep an honest man honest. Okay. It's not to keep the thief out, because a thief is going to find his way through that lock. If he really wants what's inside your locker, he's going to get it.
Agreed.
Okay. Every time. So yes, the nature of man is that you want to remove temptation, because man on various levels, but mostly very benign, can corrupt. Now it's the extreme element, that 5% that is the predator, that will absolutely corrupt. That's what we're concerned about. We don't want to focus on the nature of man that's going to be tempted to
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
what I'm saying
right.
is that if you put enough people in a room and you give them enough power and enough control, eventually corruption is inevitable.
Absolutely.
That's the part I'm making. That's the point I'm making, is that a long enough timeline, and you may start out with a Garden of Eden, you know what I mean, like a perfect utopia. But it may take 1,000 years, but on a long enough timeline with enough people and enough power, corruption is inevitable. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, they've done
it's like
studies.
The saying goes, absolute
limit.
power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, 500 is the limit where people can self-govern, and then beyond that, it gets corrupted. They've done some studies on that.
Okay,
and it's essentially
there's 4 of us. There's 4 of us. So how many chicks from Dominican Republic does that leave? Somebody do the math.
I will say that I remember, I think it was like 2008 or 9 time frame, that Dianne Feinstein and Barbara Boxer were trying to push forward, that where us contractors and former military coming home weren't going to be allowed to have body armor and weapons. They wanted to put forth some kind of bill to prevent us from having basically our tools that we employed at war. And my buddy, who used to be a ranger, he was also a Blackwater guy, Jamie Allen, redheaded guy, awesome guy.
I know Jamie.
He's like, Jamie?
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
Didn't he go home with a dog that he picked up with us at Nangarhar?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
What was his call sign?
I can't remember.
Ham?
He adopted
Cam.
He adopted a dog
like
out
Cam
at Lone
Shaft.
Star. He adopted a dog out at Lone Star with us, and then paid all the fees and everything. Spent thousands of dollars, and shipped that dog back to Cali. And when he got home, he was sending us pictures of him and that dog on the beach.
Nice.
I believe. Yeah, and then he moved from now he lives in DC. He's working for some contract group out there.
Anyway,
but
sorry. You said
no. Yeah. He was asking me. He's like, why do you think they want to do this? And I said, well, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? And he goes, not to me. And I said, well, look at it like this. They look at us as we're the only thing that could stop them from their absolute power. Like, we are the guardians of the gate. Now, we're not proactively doing it. There's nothing that's, we haven't gotten together and said, hey, if these fucking politicians, this and that, we're going to start stringing them up by light bulbs. We don't do that. But they know that if they start doing some of their fucking, we don't.
No, I thought I felt some wind right here. I was
sure.
I thought there was some wind right here.
But that said, we are the only ones that would take it back from them if they became tyrannical. and they know that. And they've been pushing so hard towards their absolutism of government. They keep growing government more and more. They keep taking more and more freedoms. We've been losing freedoms for over a century now. And now it's been ramped up on jet fuel by the Biden administration. So, of course, they want to take away the implements from guys like us that would stop them and get in the way of what their absolutism is. So that's why they wanted to put forward that. Of course, it didn't go anywhere, but yeah, I mean, technically, body armor is considered a 2A right. People don't know that it is actually it. Yes, it is self-defense, but it is an item that they consider being armed with.
I had a conversation with a guy the other day, and can't remember. Man, I'm getting old. Can't remember what we were talking about, but something came up, and it was along the lines of liberty and rights and things of that nature. And maybe it was Aaron. Do you remember? Somebody said something, and I was like, "Well, what about, how far do you want to go?" And that was the same thing we were talking about with Chad in there a minute ago when he said everything should be legal, and I'm like, okay.
Right.
My point wasn't to argue whether or not it should be legal. My point was whether you draw the line, because if we're going to make things legal, then we got to make things legal. But you can't have subjective morality applied to the masses, because your version of what should be legal and mine are two different things.
Sure.
Right.
And so I may think, well, there's no way I'm going to legalize abortion. That's one thing that's off the table. Where Chad might be like, it's her body, her choice, bro. That's not fair. So now we get into the subjective application of morality on the masses. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I'm always really careful to ask people that when they talk about, everything should be legal or whatever, whenever they take that stance. I'm like, so what if I come to your house and shoot your kid and just leave him sitting on the sidewalk dead? Well, no, that's not going to be.
Always
cool.
Just go back and just start
then,
with the 10 Commandments.
You know what I mean? Like, where are we going to draw that line? Well, then there you go. Now we're talking about something different, because in my estimation, all morality stems from religion.
Sure. I mean, to a degree.
Our own very understanding of good and evil stems from religion.
Sure.
I think religion was a compass and a really damn good one. But the truth of the matter is, morality is rooted in the ability to ask yourself a question, even the hardest question, and then come up with your answer to it. Because again, like you said, it's subjective.
Yeah,
for
but
example,
we're talking about two different things. What I'm saying is, without religion, what is your basis for good and evil? Yes, you can ask yourself the question all you want to, but if you don't, how do you gauge where does that line come?
So I became a man of faith in Thanksgiving of 2018, and I am now like an absolute Christian, non-denominational. Now that said, prior to that, I'd been an atheist all my life, even though I'd been exposed to religion. And some would even argue, like Dennis Prager would even argue, that because I grew up in a Judeo-Christian society, that's what the basis of my morality is. And he's right. I mean, you can't argue the influence of Judeo-Christian values in America. That said, if I was an atheist for all those years, though, what like kind of borrowing from what the little bit of that discussion was with like Chad earlier, he was like, well, as a libertarian, we should just make everything legal. And it's like, no, that's not libertarianism, that's anarchy. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, there's some things that I will agree with in that vein, but there has to be a limit. So when we talk about morality, I've had to ask myself this as an atheist, like what is my moral compass then? And my moral compass was rooted in, okay, well, let's ask the hard questions. And a lot of people don't even do a deep dive. They follow unquestioningly the man in the pulpit, and which to some degree, that's fine, but we've also seen that go very, very wrong, Catholic Church. So, that said, I would say something like, okay, well, can you kill a kid? And most people go, well, no, I can't kill a kid. I mean, like, really? You can't kill a 13-year-old who's holding an AK-47 at one of your buddy's heads? Like, well,
Right.
you didn't say all that. And it's like, well, no. I just asked you if you could kill a kid. I didn't set any parameters. So, now could I just kill a kid for the sake of killing a kid? No, but I could definitely light one up under the right circumstances. And that's what developing your morality is asking very tough philosophical questions of what if this, and what about that? And so that's how you really explore it. And a lot of people, that's why they freeze in the moment of those morally conflicting situations, because they haven't thought about it. They haven't thought, well, what do I do if I'm getting mugged? What if I do if I walk into my house and there's somebody on top of my wife? They haven't thought about that, because most of the time they're never going to be exposed to that. But that's why we, from our backgrounds, are so different from everybody else, because we have asked ourselves difficult fucking questions that most people shouldn't have to ask.
Sure.
Yeah, but what I'm
I
trying
think
to say is that the concept of good and evil. I'm
Well, so I think
I'm not talking about your personal application.
so I
I'm
think to
talking about
answer that,
the very concept of good and evil.
well, so
You
I
know what I
think to
mean? Like,
answer that, that's basically the golden rule of, ask yourself, how would you want to be treated, and then just treat others the same. So I mean that takes the religious aspect out of it, and kind of there's your starting point for your moral compass.
but I
yeah,
mean,
but
even that can be contentious, Bugs, because
exactly. That's what I'm
you
trying to
look
say.
at you look
It's
at
very
Looney's
subjective.
background. Look at Looney's background. Uh, Look at my background and the way we grew up. Um, I mean, I can speak for myself. Growing up, no dad. My real dad beat my mom, molested two of my sisters. I had zero guidance, zero. So what I was taught as what was right and what was wrong as a child is completely different from maybe what you were taught.
Well, I'm not talking about what's
I,
being taught. I'm talking about your moral compass itself,
but
though.
that winds up
It's
being
the same thing, though.
like,
It's
yeah,
highly subjective. What John Wayne Gacy, what his moral compass was when he said, "How do I want to be treated?" was quite different than mine. You get what I'm
exactly.
saying? I mean, I understand what you're saying. I don't know. To me, like what I'm saying is like I only understand light because I can see dark. If I was blind, I wouldn't be able to differentiate the two. I
Exactly.
only understand hot because I know what cold is. I
Well, I
have
mean,
to
we can
have that
peel the onion a
balance.
bunch. I mean, you can take religion out of it right there, because Islam. If you don't believe in Islam, then you're supposed to kill the infidel. So that
Yeah, but
their religious moral compass.
that's not what I'm talking about. We're still we're levels above where I'm talking about. I'm
Okay.
talking about the very word good, evil. So when I say evil, where does your mind go and how did you obtain that idea of evil? Not whether
I
you agree with it, not whether you believe in it, not whether you know what I mean? Your understanding of that base concept when I say something is evil. You know what I mean? Like, where did that come from? Because to
I
me,
think
I think that that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about believing in religion or understanding religion. I'm talking about religion just being the foundation of our understanding of good and evil. Does that make more sense? I don't know how to explain that.
but even then, both Looney, even then, and I get what you're saying there, and I agree with Dell as well. But one of the things that I've noticed, and it was a saying, I think I read it somewhere, I heard it somewhere, is that it took a lot of violence for me to become this calm, right? Um, and whenever I say that and I look at that and look back on it, I never really understood that until I came home and I've spent a lot of years home from war. Because a lot of people, what they think is evil, they haven't fucking seen pure evil. They haven't seen pure evil until they've seen a fucking 100 plus people killed in a day because of some fucking religious fanatic.
Yeah.
That's pure fucking evil. When you're raping children in fucking Pakistan and Afghanistan, why? Because that's just their way of life. We don't get involved in that.
Right.
So from the time a boy reaches the age of 8, 9 years old, becomes a chai boy, which is nothing more than a fuck toy for these Afghanis and these Pakistanis.
Oh yeah.
And any one of us that spend any time over there, we've seen that, we know that, we were part of that, and we were all told, hey, that's just their way of life. That's the way they are over there.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
that's pure evil. But the rest of the world doesn't know that. The rest of the world looks at us as we're the evil ones because we went over there killing people. We went over there fighting for oil.
Well,
So
they read the Kite Runner and think that that's old news and have no clue that it still is going on to this day,
I didn't fight
right
for
this
oil.
second.
I didn't fight for oil. I
Yeah.
fought for money.
Yeah,
Exactly. I've always said I don't give a fuck about your religion. I don't give a fuck about your politics. I care about one thing and one thing only. What's the fucking day rate?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and that's I don't know. I think, to be
You know
honest
what
with
I
you, I
mean.
think this would be
That's not
a good topic
that's not
for our
that.
Oh,
next.
it's
I think this would be a good topic for our next video too, is religion, good and evil, so on and so forth. Because that in itself we can spend forever talking about. And that's
sure.
something that, and it sounds like you guys have spent a lot of time thinking about it. I know I have, because one of the issues that I had coming home, and still I do, is God going to forgive me for the things that I've done to people?
Yeah.
You know,
I
like,
think
let's
any
face it,
religious
dude.
person that worked over there in the environment we did has had that question with themselves and has been conflicted at different points in their lives for sure.
Well, it's what was in your heart. Like what you did, animal, you did not from a place of evil to just do to another soul. You did it because one, you were tasked by your government to do so, and two, you were placed in a situation based upon different circumstances to that you had to respond to, up to and including taking someone's life, with potentially exchanging your own in that conflict. So that doesn't really butt up against God's will or the love of Christ has for you.
Yeah,
What
too. I think. Sorry, I thought you were done. I gave you the pause.
This motherfucker, dude.
we all do it, man. But no, at the end of the day, it's have you made peace with it? Because unless you were just over there stacking innocent people for the sake of stacking innocent people, which I know that's not who you are, animal. Then you're right with God. We unfortunately, we're constantly put because of our nature. We're going to be constantly asking ourselves, okay, do I need to get involved with this? Because we know if we have to get involved with something, the actions could lead up to taking someone's life again and again and again. And that's why we really do try to probably limit our exposure with the declination of society at large, because you're seeing more and more craziness. Can you imagine any one of us at a fucking Walgreens watching some of these motherfuckers come in and just, steal and then start beating up on other people that are in their way for just a second too long? I mean,
look at that Marine that's being charged with manslaughter now for taking down that bomb.
exactly,
Who
because that
just
piece of shit
there's
brag.
and there's been people coming out online going, I watched him try and push somebody 2 days ago into a trap. I mean,
Yeah,
numerous instances with this guy. And
Yeah.
this guy was trying to protect other people when all of a sudden he was provoked, and guy died in a
yeah,
chokehold, and he's getting charged with manslaughter now. It's fucking
yeah,
ridiculous.
That shit this
yeah.
morning. I was on Twitter this morning. I made a joke with you guys about it, but I was on Twitter this morning. These fucking morons, and I do mean that with all sincerity and clarity of thought. These fucking morons. This guy, that video Jack put up on the other BW chat, the big one.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
It was the cat like in the convenience store. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And he's like crawling up and he shoots the guy, right? Puts him all on, just fucking smokes the guy. Beautiful. I mean, it's sad too, but beautiful. But anyway,
Something ain't right with
I'm in
his
the
head.
I'm in the comments, and this guy's like, I don't know why he had to shoot him. Nobody's money is worth someone's life. And I'm
It's not
like,
about money.
you literally, hold on a minute. You literally just said that the money is not worth someone's life. Yet when he came in to get the money, threatening
That was
someone's
bad.
life, like, do you realize how goddamn stupid you just became? You just
Yeah.
argued your point from the, I mean, you just canceled your, that's a fucking double negative, bro. You can't do that. It's in the
A
rules.
line from Tropic Thunder comes to mind.
Look, I can tell you
That's
these
true.
Just a
these
dude
fucking
trying to play a dude who's trying to be
Swallow
a
the
dude.
grain.
these pieces
that
of
one.
shit that are going
Not that
out
one.
there and doing that shit,
Like, come on,
they
man.
know they're going to potentially forfeit their life. They know that.
I just can't
So-
understand someone arguing that the money's not worth his life because he shot the guy when the guy came in to take someone's life to get the money. Like,
Yeah.
you just made your own argument, you fucking dipshit. Anyway, so
Well-
yeah, we might get banned from Twitter.
Well, that's
Probably not
honestly
giving me
this
that.
is why
Yeah.
we need mutual combats to come back into play. Because I'm
Fuck
telling
yeah.
you, man,
Thunder.
any one of these bitches out there that fucking bump into me at the casino and like, watch where the fuck you're going. And I know they're drunk and stupid and whatever, but I look at them and
let's
I'm
lay
like,
off the natives, bro. They're not all drunk. Jesus, Dale.
this is Vegas. The casinos are not just on native land, motherfucker.
You remember where's we at? Did I tell that story? Where's we at when that fucking guy called over on Tom's and he's like, we were on that fucking mission and there was like a track hoe and there was like pornography all stapled up in there and glued up. And he's like, I think it was Chad. Chad keys up and says, hey man, you ought to see all the porn in this Indian's machine. And I got up and I said, I think they prefer to be called Native Americans, bro. He's like, no, I meant the other kind of Indians. And I'm like, yeah, you fucking twat. I know what you meant.
Feather or dot?
We're in fucking Kandahar, bro. I know they're not building teepees out here, you fucking moron.
you talking about Chad Johnson?
Yeah.
Black Chad?
Black Chad. Angry Black Chad.
Oh, dude. Do you remember when he was talking to us at the chow hall, that back Lindsay chow hall, and he gets all angry and he slams his fist down because he's relaying a part of the story. And so we're all just listening to him, and Creebs, no shit, Creebs he's like, hey Chad, you're scaring the white people. And he points to another table and they are all like looking like, oh shit, the black man's got all angry. And we all fucking fell the fuck out of our chair laughing, dude. It was hilarious.
Did I tell the story, Animal, you and Boog, did I tell the story on here about me and Dale getting pulled over on calf
No.
at the poo pond? Did I not tell that story on here?
No.
So
The
we're
poo pond
on a
of
mission
Kandahar.
down to Kandahar. And we're fucking hungry, bro. And we're all in MRAP. So, goddamn, you got to try and deal with MRAP. So one of the clients had they had some thin skin sitting out front of their compound there on Kandahar. So we just drop our rigs, run over and grab this thin skin. It's a right-hand drive. So I'm driving. There's 4 or 5 of us in there. All big fucking dudes, just dropped our kit, left them in locked up in the MRAP. And anyway, so we're rolling over, laughing, cutting up. We're going through Kandahar Airfield over by the poo pond. And we get pulled over by a cop. I didn't even know this was a thing.
Oh yeah, dude. I remember this one now. Now that you're saying it.
I got a ticket over there on Slayer once.
Oh,
this
shit.
motherfucker tried to do a felony stop on us, dude. Nuts. And then he got pissed
Dude,
off because I cussed him out like a fucking dog.
Dude, he didn't know that look on his face was fucking priceless, man.
Yeah.
You
I
just
don't
start
remember what I
cussing
said.
at
Something like I said something like, listen, motherfucker, if you want to give me a ticket, give me a ticket. But if you think I'm going to sit here while you give me a fucking lecture, you've lost your motherfucking mind. Now give me the ticket, shut the fuck up, and go away.
Was that the time that he says, what would your boss say? And you go, he's sitting right here.
Yeah,
Fucking ask
he's
him.
fucking sitting right there. Dale was a TL at the time. What would your boss say? He's fucking sitting there. Ask him.
And I
He's
said,
laughing his fucking ass
I looked
off
at
the
I
whole
looked at that
time.
guy and I said, I agree with everything you just said. Now fucking let's get going.
Yeah, we're
I
fucking
had
hungry.
almost
Leave
the
us alone.
exact same conversation on Slayer when we got pulled over. We were in a low pro armored BMW trying to get back out to head back to our house. And I was doing 30 and a 25 or whatever it was. And the SF, the Air Force SF guy, that's whatever they call them, the security forces.
Yeah.
It was basically felony stop on us, wanting to know why our weapons are hot. We were like, because we're leaving and we're going into town.
Because some of us actually work in a war zone.
Yeah,
Right.
well, at the time, we had a house there in Baghdad, out there in the Karada district.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Dude,
talk
I got
about
a ticket on Spiker up in Tikrit, dude.
Oh, dude.
No way.
Yep.
The
I
Rab
cussed
and
that
Kirkuk
motherfucker
was
left and right,
bad.
laughing the whole time,
Spiker,
dude. He
man.
was mad.
Spiker was a
Is there literally any bigger douche than a fob MP in a war zone? I mean,
Daddy, what'd you do during the war? I wrote speeding tickets.
Oh,
on
you
the
know,
know,
when
right?
that motherfucker came back, he binge watched every goddamn episode of Dog to Bang.
I was on
yeah.
fucking I was on a Max Sog team fucking in
Yeah.
Damn Lie.
He was kicking
Like,
fucking
shut the
doors. I told
fuck
somebody
up.
that the other day. They were like,
I wrote all those fucking grunts tickets.
yeah,
I showed them.
somebody told me the other day, they were like, yeah, man, you were overseas? I was like, yeah, a couple times. My uncle was over there. Yeah? Who was he with? He can't tell you.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
One of those guys.
He can't tell you. He'd have to kill you. It was real secret. I said, he's full of fucking shit. That's what he is. He's like, what? And dude, I laid into his fucking ass right there. I told him, I said, people that are going to have to tell you a lot. Those guys will make up something. They're not going to tell you, I can't tell you what I did, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, that's horse shit.
I was at Home Depot the other day, similar story. I wear my, my flag hat or whatever.
Was there an
So a
L
guy
in
walks up to me. What?
Did you say,
Did you say about being gay?
Did you say
No.
fag?
No, you fag.
I thought you said you had a
Flag.
fag hat.
Look, Looney's got dick on the
not
brain, okay?
Like a penis
Talking
hat?
about your fucking estrogen levels again. Yeah, but he.
Go on, you had on a fag hat. Go ahead. Keep going.
I fucking hate it. I hate you. You know what? I hate you too for laughing, though.
Well, you know what? You're 15 minutes late today, so get your fucking feet on.
All you're fucking doing is antagonizing him. You see, you're antagonizing him.
Hey, Dale.
Yeah, he's stirring a fucking pot. He's like, ho, watch this shit.
Well, you know how those boys get when they're on the Mad Viking.
Here's the thing about me, Animal.
Oh yeah, the fucking Mad Viking. Here we go
here's
again.
Here's the thing about me. I don't really have an opinion on anything. Whatever your opinion is, I'm going to choose the opposite.
No, I'm done with all of you.
So you're in home. I can't even
okay,
say
Fuck you and Home Depot. Fuck Home Depot too.
And now a word from our sponsor. Are you tired of
He's
listening
at
to
Home
little
Depot
bitch?
getting people to fix his rental property.
You can tell this whole story differently. You just had a beard.
Exactly.
Oh shit!
You motherfuckers. You motherfuckers.
Are you going to finish this story? I'm waiting.
I'm actually
I
hanging
forgot
my
what
thread
it
now.
is.
You had a
You're
fag
at
hat
Home
on.
Depot. Some guy
You had
was
a fag
talking to
hat.
you because he saw
Oh
your
yeah,
hat.
he wanted to tell me how he almost joined the army.
Oh shit!
Almost joined. I love those.
Almost. Yeah, Army strong.
He's probably going to have to
You're
punch out the
almost
DI
service.
too, right?
Yeah, almost joined the army until they told him that he would have to go to airborne school. And he couldn't see why jumping out of a perfectly good plane made sense, and so on and so forth. And then carried on to tell me he would have made a good ranger. And I just looked at him the whole time, kind of like when I look at Looney and I wonder if there's a dick growing out of his forehead. It's that same look. Just
We had a client
I
up
think
in
I'm the
Roseville.
youngest one in here, so I think it's safe for me to say, go fuck.
this motherfucker telling.
Yeah,
I'm
we had
done.
Well, He just fucking teleported to you, literally.
I don't know what the fuck that was. He's on some catnip or something. Go ahead, Doug. You had something going.
I was talking about a client we had in Mosul. We called him Super Dave. He
Oh,
was
I know
a
Super Dave, bro. He
did he
had
really?
the beds out there and shit.
Not the cartoon, Looney. Not the cartoon.
No. We had a cat in Kirkuk. Super Dave. He handled all the logistics and shit. Is that not the guy you're talking about?
Well, this dude he was attached with the embassy. He was Army, and so he liked to play off that he was basically like the CIA attaché whenever he
that
was
wasn't this
going
guy.
out.
Never mind.
Yeah, no, he was
Two
active
Super
duty
Daves within
Army.
driving distance.
Yeah, so we had him as a client. He was always just getting us into just stupid situations because of his mouth. And so we're out on a mission out in a little town called Bartala that was outside of Mosul, a little kind of Christian stronghold, if you will. And Silent Bob, Ron Danielowski, who just recently passed away, he was out there. And Ron, I don't know if you guys know him, but I mean, his call sign of Silent Bob was pretty apt because he didn't say a lot, but he was an extremely smart guy. And so we're out there on this op, and he's having to deal with Super Dave, and he can't get him to leave like from this group that he's talking. We're on the radio like, hey, other clients are loading up. It's time to go. And all of a sudden you hear Silent Bob come over the radio, and he's like, boss, can I have permission to brachial chop him? Everybody just dies. So he's getting ready to just fucking knock the client out. But coming from Silent Bob, that was pretty good because he didn't say a whole hell of a lot, and then he's wanting to just knock the client out and drag him out. But yeah, he's that type of guy that would go home and I can't tell you what I did type deal, you know.
Tell everybody we'll cook.
Guy I was talking about had a in Kirkuk. He got in good with the COs up there because he was handling all the logistics. So he was a contractor that handled all the logistics for the whole base. Maybe not. I can't exactly remember. But he had talked him into giving him his own hooch over on the airfield there in Kirkuk. And it was a word of mouth kind of thing. But inside the place, he had made basically a transient hotel. And he had Wi-Fi that was free. He had Ethernet cables. He had his own dedicated internet system. He had food. He had drinks. He had a place to cook, whatever you wanted to do. He had a hot tub. He had he had showers and everything. So
those chews are only so big.
No, it wasn't a chew. It was like a big building, like a.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how big. I don't know, like a small gas station size. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it was a pretty good sized facility, but he had beds, like probably, I don't know, 10, 12 beds in the thing. But like I said, it was word of mouth, and they called him Super Dave. I don't remember what his name was. But whenever you'd go in, if you knew him, you just go over there and tap on the door, walk in, and you got a room. He's like, yeah, man, grab a spot. And he fed you. He kept you up. You didn't have to sleep in a fucking tent. You had Wi-Fi to contact home and shit like that. So it was really a really cool deal, man. And he spent his own money, fixing everything up and doing everything out of his own just to make it better for guys, But it was a real hush word of mouth kind of thing.
Yeah, I didn't. I usually just did day trips over to the Crab because we'd go over there to pick up the mail when we were living there in Erbil. So, as a matter of fact, one of my buddies.
I was down in at Bernstein. You know where that's at? Down outside of Toots.
Okay.
So we used to run clips up there, and there was one time I think I was working for SOC back then, and they didn't keep up with you, and they didn't set anything up. They reimbursed you. So when you went in and out, you went in and out on your own.
Right.
You to Baghdad. Once you got the buy-up, you're on your own.
Right.
You beg, borrow, and steal, do whatever you got to do. So I was going out on leave, and we had a Black Hawk come in, and I hit the chief. I'm like, you got any spot? Yeah, grab a seat. We're going to Kirkuk. So I take off there at Bernstein, fly up to Kirkuk on a Black Hawk, land. I go over to Catfish, and they didn't have anything. So they said, we'll have another one tomorrow night. So I go rack out over at Super Dave's place. Next night I get on Catfish Air down to Ballad. Go over to HADAC Air Force chick. What do you got? She said, where you want to go? I said, out of here. So I got one going to Ramstein, C-17. So about 3 o'clock in the morning, I get on this fucking C-17. We get going up in the air, and I'm traveling with nothing but a fucking 3-day bag.
Right.
Nothing. And man, I'm fucking tired as shit. You know what I mean? And so we get up in the air. I take my fucking bag, drop it on the deck, and I lay down. And there's only 4 of us in the fucking plane. They got a couple of jet engines, tied down, going back to Germany. And I always say that was the coldest I've ever been in my entire life, because I woke up somewhere over fucking Europe, laying on that steel pan in the belly of the goddamn C-17, and I could not get warm, dude. I shivered for hours, man. I could not warm up. I was hurting so bad, bro. I thought I was gonna fucking die. But anyway, so I got to Ramstein and got out and walked out front, and they said, we got a shuttle. It'll be here in a little while. Fuck all that. Grabbed a taxi. He drove me down to Frankfurt. Walked in the fucking airport at Frankfurt, and I said, what you got going back to States? She said, I got one going to Philly. I said, I'll take it. But it was just literally like every fucking stop. You know what I mean? Like every stop, I just hit it just right to just bam, bam, bam. You know what I mean? With no layovers, except for that one night with Super Dave. I was on the road.
Hey, Looney, do you remember when we were traveling around Kandahar, and we would, Kandahar province, as part of the MRAP teams, and we would stop at different fobs to go get lunch or whatever if we were too far away from getting back to CAF?
Yeah.
Do you remember how many times when I would crack the door, or one of the other TLs would crack the door to like let the guy know, like, because there would always be an Army cat there. You'd have to let them know what unit you're with. So I'd open the door, and they'd be like, all right, who you guys, blah, blah, blah. Okay, what unit you with? And we're like, we're with USACE. Now, bear in mind, every contractor on that team all had like Cry Precision gear, had their own kit, fucking decked out M4s and all that shit. But, we were doing the USACE thing, He took one look at us, and then he would see the guy in the up gun with a fucking 50 cal, and he'd look at us and be like, "Yeah, sure, okay, I get it. I'll put USACE down." I'm like, "No, bro, like seriously, we're with USACE." Yeah, sure. I get it. You got to have a cover story. It's like, dude, we couldn't fucking tell people what we were really doing and then believe us. And so when you hear these fucking clowns, I can't tell you what I did. I'm like, motherfucker. Those guys, the fucking real pipe hitting niggas out there that were fucking doing this shit.
Say something different too.
They got a story where they're like, I was in logistics.
Yeah,
they're not good.
I ran into that same shit when I worked with SOC. I don't know if you were there, but they issued us those fucking black polos with SOC embroidered on the fucking chest. So you'd go in the fucking ADAG and you'd say, hey, y'all got anything going out? Yeah, who you with? I'm with SOC. And they thought it meant Special Ops Command.
Right.
And so they'd go, oh, okay. Yeah. And then they'd like rush you into some special shit. You know what I mean? And I never told them no fucking different. I rode the shit.
Hey, if they want to believe what they want to believe.
Yeah. I'm a GS-50.
But speaking of Kirkuk, one time I was, it was when I was with Blackwater, and we were doing the runs from Sully all the way to Kirkuk. We'd always get these Air Force cats. They'd always be like wanting to get a job with Blackwater because, of course, the great branding, fucking big money, all this shit. So they'd always go, harass guys like, hey, kid, I'm trying to get a job with Blackwater. And we're like, what the fuck are we going to do? We're guys on ground here, put your resume in. So to avoid that altogether, I would always drop kid as soon as we got into Kirkuk and got over to the food court. I'd be standing in line there at fucking Burger King or Pizza Hut, and I would have nothing but my radio and my sidearm. And so I'd get some Air Force cat come up to me like, hey, man, you with Blackwater? I'm like, Blackwater? No.
Y'all got those guys up here too?
They're like, who you with? And I said, well, I'm with Doctors Without Borders. Do you want to hear about, goat inoculations and how to birth baby rabbits? They'd be like, no, man, it's cool.
News about our Lord and Savior.
Right?
Why are you running?
We always told people
Come
we
back
were
here. We need more
contagious.
people.
Say no, but we have been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty.
If only that was a thing back then.
Right? I know, man. That was one of the hardest things for me, like the adaptation period when I first started deploying, being gone away from home. And like, because back then, like, I didn't have a fucking cell phone. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't carry a goddamn cell phone. I had to go to the fucking MWR. You know what I mean? Like, shit. And then by the time you could get there and get on a fucking line back home, and half the time
The power goes out.
spots, and then the power. Yeah, so it's always
No, the delay. Y'all remember
Yeah.
the delay?
So
Oh God, yeah.
I would call home and I'd be like so fucking furious that nobody was waiting on me right that second. And I'm like, it's been 2 fucking weeks since I got to talk to anybody. You know what I mean? And y'all can't be sitting there waiting on me. Like, I'm expecting them to be like crying and shit. You know what I mean? That was one of the hard things for me, is that I had to finally realize that they had their own shit to deal with. And they were waiting on me. You know what I mean? I had to remove that. Of course, later on, we got cell phones and you know what I mean? But back in the day, you know what I mean? I didn't carry a goddamn cell phone when I first went into Iraq.
No, yeah, neither
Yeah.
Just shot a fucking email whenever we got to a hotel or we got laid up in a fucking transient tent or something. You know what I mean? You might go a week or 2 or 3 or 4 without talking to somebody. You know what I mean?
I was traveling, heading back in, and it was April of 2005. And it was when I got to the Bristol hotel, and I went over to the business center and logged into my email, and that was when I'd found out about the Hilo and Sparky out in Ramadi and everything.
Wait, you got into the Bristol that day?
It was like within like a day of it happening. Yeah.
Oh shit! I landed at BIOP that day, and that's what delayed us from getting picked up, because the Mamba team got hit,
No
and
shit.
that helo went down, and we were like, and my wife was freaking out because I just got there, so she was worried that I was on one of those transpos.
Yeah, so it had happened. It was either the day I got into the Bristol, or it had happened in my transit to the Bristol. And that was how I'd found out the news. I mean, it had just happened though. Yeah.
Yeah.
And no cell phone, it's not like just taking your phone off of airplane mode when you land and you're getting all of your alerts, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing all of that, and I was just floored. I just left Sparky. I'd only gone home for like a 2-week vacation.
No.
But yeah.
Hey,
y'all remember when Intercontinental Hotel got hit in Kabul?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they detonated on the roof? We were at Integrity in Kabul. Same one that we had a little issue in the bar with later. But so we're at Integrity in Kabul, and we're bored out of our mind. So about 4 of us grabbed one of the thin skins, because we did the low pro shit out of there too. We grabbed one of the cars. I don't even remember what it was now. We grabbed our long guns, but we didn't really kit up. You know what I mean? We just were going to run into town. So we're coming back, and we're coming around Airport Circle, and traffic is horrible. We're making the left there by Masood. Not Masood, but
yeah.
Mogadishu Alley. We're making that left around by the airport there at the airport.
Yeah.
And there's that big wedding chapel, fucking wedding hall there. You remember on the right hand side, and it was like some kind
They'd
of.
always have a Camaro out front.
Yeah. So we go around, and there's cars every fucking where. So I think it was Matt. Can't remember his name. Jumps over on the access road between the airport. There was that road that ran right in front of the fucking airport there. So we get in there and we're trying to get through, and it just bogs the fuck down.
Yeah, you got all those little gas lines coming off of there and everything.
You remember how those goddamn wedding chapels were? I mean, it was like fucking nuts, dude. Like 1,000 goddamn cars. So we're gridlocked in this motherfucker. Nobody's seen us yet because it's dark, but it ain't gonna last long. You know what I mean? And we're static,
Right.
And we're in a thin skin, and we're not kitted up, and it was fucking drunk, retarded shit. So now we got to fucking dismount, and it's dark, It sucks balls. So we get out. We got one guy behind the vehicle. We got three on the ground, and we're moving cars. We're banging on people. We're doing everything. We're fucking hollering, kicking, fucking moving cars. So we're inching our way back out of this motherfucker, right? And all of a sudden, one of them says, "Doc, you're six." I spin around, and this cat's right behind me. And so I've muzzled him, right? And he's just standing there, just froze. And he's probably, I don't know, 10 feet away. I mean, he ain't far. And he's got an AK at the low. And he's literally fucking standing there in this bleach white goddamn robe. And I'm just standing there waiting to see what he's going to do. Because, you know, there's 10,000 fucking people standing there looking at us now. And, you know, I can't just do this, dude. And he's literally got the AK down at the low, you know, one-handed, just keeping it down. And he just takes his other hand, holds it up, and he just starts backing up. And he fucks off. He just goes away. And at the time, I was like, okay, seeing somebody on the street with an AK-47 ain't that fucking surprising. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't that fucking. It wasn't like
Right.
It wasn't like
Especially
being
at
at
a
Walmart
wedding
here
as
and seeing a
well.
motherfucker with it. You know what I mean? It was,
Yeah, you didn't smoke a
they got
motherfucker
them
just for having an
things.
AK at the
Everybody
low.
carried fucking weapons. So
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? And so we get back, and that night is when they hit the Intercontinental Hotel.
Mm.
So I always wondered if that cocksucker wasn't on his way over there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he was going to the wedding hall, but I mean, he was clean, and maybe he was going to the wedding. I don't know, but he looked like he was going to a fucking, you know what I mean? Like he looked like he was.
Well,
clean.
and if they're going to martyr themselves, that's what they do.
Yeah.
You know.
I always wondered if I should have shot him. I mean, I know I shouldn't have, because that would have been wrong. You know what I mean?
Wrong.
No, there's no presentation.
There was no getting out of that. You know what I mean? You pull that trigger, you're gonna have to pull 10 more. I mean, there wasn't no getting out of that one.
That's the thing. When you uncork that one,
Yeah,
man,
you ain't gonna get it back in that bottle. You're gonna be fighting to the fucking road.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna be pulling AKs off of dead bodies to get through that shit.
Yeah.
So I mean, we did the right thing, but it's one of those things that I always wondered in the back of my mind, like, you know what I mean? Like, would it have made a difference? I don't know. Probably not. Probably they didn't walk to the fucking hotel. You know what I mean? But it's just one of those things that was in my mind. Like,
so with Sock, do you remember Mark Lumpkin?
Yeah.
So for some reason, somebody had the bright idea to make me the project manager for the UPS contract that Sock got. Okay. I've got no fucking clue about logistics moving shit. Like that is like one of the things I've never even dabbled in, not in my military career, never. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't know shit. And they're like, you just have to manage a project. I'm like, okay. So at some point I'm up in Spiker covering down on another dude who's out because a medic had gone out, and I was still working as a medic here and there. So I get the phone call, like Mark's like, hey, we got to have a conference call with the UPS people back in the States. And I'm like, okay. So he gets me the time, sets it up, and I call in. And it's Mark on the line. I think maybe even Chad O'Kelly was on the line. I was on the line. And so they were like, well, you know, they're telling me what they're trying to do, you know, getting, you know, things set up, you know, getting lines established to the different fobs. Because, I mean, hell, UPS was even delivering fucking Cobra Helo blades and shit, right? So I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. So I'm just listening to this stuff. And at one point they go, well, okay, so let's say you got a, you know, company, a package that's got to get somewhere. You know, can you just kind of walk us through that? And I said, you mean I got to ride with a couple of locals because you guys won't hire expats? And they're like, well, yeah, you know, they're cheaper. You know, we're trying to, you know, keep our costs down and so on and so forth. And I said, okay, so what are you asking of me? And they're like, well, let's say, you know, you guys have, you know, like one of you in each vehicle. And I said, well, the first move is I'm going to have my gun to this motherfucker's head the entire time we're driving outside of the wire. And they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, I don't fucking trust the Hodge here. And they're just like, and it sounds really bad when you just say it like that. But what people didn't realize is how many insurgents were getting turned, or people were getting turned by these insurgents and shit. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have this fucking my gun to this motherfucker's head the entire time we're driving, because if he makes one wrong turn, I'm smoking him and taking over the wheel, and they're just like, the line is silent. Mark is like, "Hey, Dale, I don't think they were going for that kind of detail. They just they just want to know if you'd be willing." I'm like, "Well, those are my terms to accompany the fucking package outside the fucking wire, Mark." And he is laughing. He's trying not to laugh like boisterously, but man, I could just hear it. I could hear the chuckling. He's stifling, and they are dead silent. They are fucking like, "Oh my God, what are we getting into?" I'm like, "It's fucking Iraq."
But I'd still make the delivery.
Yeah. What's the day
Needless to
rate?
say, needless to say, they still put me on as PM for this fucking project, and
What's the day rate?
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, I gotta get off here. I've got like
Yeah, me
3%
too.
left.
I'll holler at y'all later, boys. We'll do it again.
All righty.
All right.
See y'all next
All right.
time.
Hey, Looney, you see this, right, Looney?
Sorry, it's
There's
broken.
3 for Looney.
It went
3.
dark. I'm not sure exactly what we're doing.
The adult
Y'all still hear me?
supervision salute.
Can you still hear me?